Part of being a local favorite is having what's called the home field advantage. But it's not that often when one man leads a tournament every single day up to the final day of fishing. Angler Terry Scroggins has done just that. But does he have enough local knowledge to maintain his lead?
To win this tournament, it'll probably take about 12 pounds, but I'm gonna see what I can do about getting 15. But it's gonna be tough to do. It's getting tougher every day, but just have to see what happens.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is presented by Long John Silver's.
Welcome to another episode of the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail. This week we are in Florida on the legendary St. Johns River system, legendary for bass fishing. 300 anglers ready to go. Also ready to go, Jimmy Dykes, Jerry McInnes, and 300 people who've been working hard all week, really.
If there's 300, how come we're only going to see 5 today?
That's the unfortunate part. I wish we could see them all.
It is kind of a shame on the final day of both a tour event and an open. You normally see the guys who are in the top 5 places. As a matter of fact, a tour event is 4 days long. You only see the last day. An open, like we're going to visit today, is 3 days long. You only see the last day. And boy, these guys are out there busting it because they practice maybe 3 and 4 days before the event. Hey, you two guys would never hold up under the work that these guys put out.
I'm afraid you're right. Exactly right. 300 guys, Jimmy. 300 pros, actually, so that makes it different from our tour events.
I don't know about that, because first of all, I've been working on my conditioning a little bit, running wind sprints, getting ready for this show.
He's ready.
The tour events now, the pro is always in front of that boat. He's in charge of his waters. He's in charge of how long he wants to fish there. No distractions, really, in the tour events for that professional angler. Different in the open division. 2 guys always battling it out, trying to decide what water we're going to fish, how long we're going to fish there. I'm not sure how they always work it out, whether it's a casting competition or they arm wrestle one another, but they do a terrific job of working together.
Absolutely. They come to an agreement of sorts. Anyway, this tournament was originally scheduled for the fall on the Hudson River up in New York, and of course was canceled in the wake of the events of September 11th. So this is the first event of the year for these Eastern anglers, and they are ready to go with their first event. After 3 events, of course, 5 of them will be qualified for the Classic.
Well, this fishing setting is located just south of Jacksonville, Florida, and it's not just the river now. It will be the river and all the lakes adjacent to the river. And, boy, this is really, we're going to be talking about tide a lot because all the water is affected by the tide.
Well, it's a 3-day tournament after the first day of competition. As predicted, Terry Scroggins right there on top, tied with Lauren Hill, who lives out of state, but is actually a native of this area. After the second day's fishing, hey, it was still Terry Scroggins, expanding his lead to about 3 pounds. Mark Pattinson, his nearest pursuer, Mark from Wisconsin. So Scroggins, the home field, home advantage guy, that can be a plus or it can be a minus.
We'll talk a lot about that today. We've heard it from many anglers, this statement, you know, I know too much about the water. Terry might be in that spot.
It's not a good way to start.
We have a chance now to look at our map, and as we watch this stretch of the St. Johns River, I know before we start talking about anything, Jerry, you want to point out a body of water that's now open, available to anglers.
We're not covering a single fisherman that is in the Rodman Pool, but the Rodman Pool is a big player in the picture today because it's been closed for some time now. And I think maybe a week before the tournament started, they'd start drawing down Rodman, and they opened Buckman Lock, and you can see that Buckman Lock is halfway between a Rodman and the river, and what happens then is some water starts spilling off into the St. Johns River. Now then, we've got some current up and down the river, and current, as we have said before, is just so important to an angler, so Rodman does fit in the picture.
It is a player.
That tide current in the river hadn't really got started yet this morning. We've run probably 25 miles just to find it moving a little bit. Hopefully to get going here for long.
Well, we keep talking about Scroggins and all his local knowledge. Back in the background there, that's Chris Daves. Now, Chris is from Virginia, so I guess if you don't have the local knowledge on your own, it's not a bad idea and certainly legal to kind of tag along and at least keep in touch with a guy who does.
Yeah, and of course he does have a lot of tidal water fishing there in Virginia.
Absolutely. This is the Blackwater River, no doubt.
And not only that, he's Scroggins' buddy, and Scroggins has really helped him a lot, which I think is great. I think Terry has helped several of the fishermen, but he's helped Daves a lot to find his places and get started in the right direction.
Eelgrass is what they're both fishing, I guess.
Boy, Tommy, it just seems like every event we get involved with has got the word grass popping up all the time.
That should tell you something, shouldn't it?
It should tell you something. The eel grass and the shell beds, which also is important.
Yeah. God, come on. Come on. Come on. Come on.
I'm gonna get the net ready.
Right there, the twin bugaboos of the tournament fishermen, losing a fish early on in the day and watching the guy who's ahead of you just wailing on him out there.
Hey, you know, it takes a special fisherman to be able to sit back like Dave's is doing and watch a guy who's leading catch fish like this. It's got to blow your mind. It's really tough on you mentally. This sport is so much about confidence anyway, Tommy. It's just,
sure.
And to think, oh my goodness, maybe I'm doing something wrong here because the guy up there in front of me is doing okay. But boy, you're right. That really wears on.
Much has been made of the fact that these guys might be fishing reservoirs this week, but look at our leader right there in the main channel.
And I tell you what he's doing. He's fishing around the grass, and he's really fishing around these shell beds. But as you can see, we took the water out of his view right there, and the real channel is right over against the bank. And over here on the flat where he's casting his Carolina rig and a topwater rig occasionally is the grass.
Has that water moved any this morning?
It was moving a little bit when we first got here, but ain't doing much.
Come on up here if you want to.
That ain't my style. They was busting out there earlier.
Same spot you caught them at?
I've been catching them back here on incoming tide. I guess the same fish, but they're moving over here on incoming.
What we haven't seen yet is our second place competitor coming into today's final round, Mark Pattinson. We'll be going upstream to do just that when we return to the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail Eastern Open on the St. Johns River.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is brought to you by Citgo, and in part by Mercury, and by Triton.
It's the Citgo Bassmaster Florida Eastern Open here on the St. Johns River, presented by Yamaha. Upstream, what a beautiful sight here in eastern Florida. Mark Pattinson of Wisconsin is starting his fishing day.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, my Lord, that's a good one. If I can reach him. Oh, dang. I missed. Oh, he missed it. No. There he is. It's a little one, but it's a keeper. Stay on there, buddy. Coming right at the boat. Stay down. Here he comes. Ooh. Switching around. Let these guys get a picture. Oh. Ready? Here he comes.
Yep. All right.
Baby.
Good job.
Icebreaker.
Yeah, buddy. Get that first one in.
You got the beautiful sunrise, the top water bite. Everything's right with the world.
You should say, and he's just north of the takeoff spot, and actually not fishing on the main river, but he's back in a pocket right off the river, and that could be the first topwater fish we've seen caught all year long.
Well, quickly, let's jump over for a look at Danny White.
Got him? Yeah. I think he'll keep. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Yeah, baby. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Good job, buddy.
Broke the ice, man. Boy, he was just barely hooked, too.
Yes, it was.
First one. Gotta have 4 more.
Danny White is from Milledgeville, Georgia. That means he's a Lake Sinclair guy. It'd be kind of interesting to see where he chooses to fish on the St. Johns River.
And he used to be the quarterback for the Cowboys.
He may be an old cowboy, but he's not that one. No.
That was Staubach.
Yeah, maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Hey, this Danny White, our Danny White, is probably fishing, 60 seconds from the
across the way, yeah.
And incidentally, Palatka, as a crow flies, I bet isn't 30 miles to the ocean, is it?
Right.
We'll look at our satellite image here, and we can see Palatka, 10, 12,000 people. Right up here is the marina where the take-in point, where the put-in point is. Here sits Danny right across the river, and that's where he starts the day. Now, I'm not saying that that's where he's going to sit and fish all day long, because he's probably not. But
everybody else is blasting off, and he just putts right over there. Right?
And then he's going to start fishing his way to Lake George. But I want you to take a real good look at our 3D image here, and again, you're going to see that not only does he have a very good spot to start fishing, but it has some real good contour in the area.
Little shelf there,
that shelf down there has some rock piles and some trash down there, and that's a very good place. And as always, notice how close his spot is to deep water. That's what makes his spot special.
We've been around a lot of tournaments, and people could go to more tournaments. They would be surprised to know how many people, and I'm not predicting what's going to happen here, but how many people have actually won tournaments just right across from the launch.
Isn't that the truth?
Keep. No, he won't either.
Coming this side?
This side. I don't think he'll keep. Nah.
Danny White there, not doing too bad, but Terry Scroggins fishing strong, looking good. Somebody's going to really have to go great guns to catch this guy today. Take a look at that. 3 fish, up to 29 pounds and 5 ounces. Now, Chris Daves, on the other hand, final day, you're in the top 5. You have to fish your best, focus as hard as you can. You have to be where the fish are. He's done that. But also, he's trying to think about what's happening with the guy that's leading the tournament. That seems like too many distractions.
Who is in his view at all times.
Oh, see? It's tough.
That really is. And then on top of it, Terry is catching fish. So Daves is back there watching that. He's made a few little intricate moves himself, but he's sitting there watching that, and he's wondering if he should be there, if he should be here. And as he's catching this fish right here, you know, we hear his real thoughts.
I should have investigated that a little bit better when them fish were busting out there.
We didn't stay up there long enough.
Nope.
That's good fish here.
Nice. That'll do you good.
It'll be our turn when the tide turns around.
Exactly.
That'll help out a lot.
I want to run, come back later, I believe. But I know what's going to happen when I do. See somebody sitting there.
Yeah, he's a good 3 pounds. If I get 4 more, then we'll be sitting good.
He catches one more, he'll leave.
We're sitting. It's 9 o'clock. We're sitting pretty good. I look forward to this afternoon's bite.
Welcome back. It's the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail, our Florida Eastern Open on the St. Johns River. We're fishing out of Palatka, Florida. Got Terry Scroggins in the lead right now. Mark Pattinson behind him, but Scroggins just keeps looking stronger and stronger. Wayne Black is the one man we have not seen yet in our coverage of the top 5. Wayne has been fishing grass as well, visible grass for Wayne Black, but it's tough for him today.
He maybe hasn't wanted us to see him. I think he's lost 2 or 3 pretty doggone good fish. Oh, man. And you know what? He's fishing a weightless worm.
So he's not Carolina rigging.
No.
It looks like.
Here's an angler that is on a completely different pattern, and it's a good one, too. He's throwing a weightless worm, swimming that worm in around that grass, and, you know, that's kind of the nature of that kind of fishing. You're just going to lose fish from time to time. But, boy, it's a good way to catch some good ones as well.
Want the net?
Yep.
All right. Hello.
That is a good fish, too.
Nice little slump buster right there. That's a good way to break a slump. Wayne Black back in the running, or at least back in the running for second place.
You know, it always pops in your mind, Tommy. Where could I be had I not lost that last fish or those first two fish? I'm sure I'm sure that's going through Wayne's mind.
It'll be hot if we don't get some breeze in here today. There he is. Get the net. Coming straight at you.
Whoa, nice fish.
Here you go. I got about 5 foot leader.
All right.
Get him. Yeah, baby. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, man.
That's what I need to win this sucker. Whew. I knew there had to be one in there. One an hour.
All right, Mark, time to get back on the oxygen. That would make anybody's heart stop and make you stop breathing for a while. Mark Pattinson, once again, we've got not just a race for second place. He is back in the game chasing Terry Scroggins. Strong move by Pattinson.
What we got here is eelgrass starting way out there on the main river point. Comes in and it comes out to a point there and comes in and goes a little bit around the bank, and then it quits. So we got eelgrass coming out to a nice defined point, and then there's sand, and out about where you're sitting, it turns into a soft bottom, and right by that soft bottom, it's either shell or rock, something chunky and hard. And they seem to be coming in, schooling right in between the eelgrass and that sand, and usually on this line of the hard stuff. And there's a little bit in here.
Back over to our leader, Terry Scroggins, surprisingly, I think, moving at this point. Now, there's a lot of reasons that a guy is catching fish, and yet he will move. We've seen it before. What would be the reasons for that?
Well, here's something about a local angler, Tommy, and why he does have an advantage. They get on what they refer to as a milk run, and you have like 6, 8, maybe 10 spots that you're going to hit through the day. And the reason I say a local guy can do that is because, you know, if you don't know the water that well, you can't find that many spots. But if you've been there, been through it like he has, you know all them little spots. And it's really great because maybe the tide is affecting this one a little bit better than it, or a little bit worse than the other one, and you know not to stay there very long. The next one, the tide's going to be a little bit better on. And so this milk run, Tommy, I think, is something that really helps the local angler, and Terry is on it right now.
A few weeks ago, our Western Open out on the Columbia River. That's, of course, the Big Dog Waterway, close to the coast out west. I think of the East Coast equivalent as being this, the St. Johns River.
Sure.
Yeah, it's big, it's huge, it's close to the coast, and so many places to fish. Yet Terry Scroggins, our man here, is not going that far to fish, is he?
Hey, both pieces of water, the anglers depend on current.
Oh, that's important, too, a similarity.
You think I know where Terry's fishing, don't you?
Thinking you do.
Oh, man,
You usually
Tommy,
do.
I'm going to help you out here, and I'm going to start right at Palatka, which is maybe 50, 60 miles from Jacksonville. 10, 12,000 people live there. Just maybe a half a mile or so above Palatka is where the takeoff point is. Terry is not fishing very far from that spot. Maybe 5 miles downstream, we're going to cross the Buffalo Bluff Railroad Bridge, and when you get below it, maybe a half a mile, we're going to find Terry on the west side of the river. Now, here's the Seven Sisters area. Here's our railroad bridge going right through there, and there sits our buddy Terry. Now, whenever we look at our contour maps, I want people to not just see the exact spot where that man is fishing. I want folks to always look around that spot and see what's unique about
what's
that.
next to it, yeah.
Absolutely. And when we look at Terry's track coming down the river, you'll notice that as he comes down through there, the bank looks about all the same till he gets to his spot. That seems to be the only sandbar, the only thing that's different in that area.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that makes it very, just really a great spot is look how close it is to deep water. Now, I think every time you look at our maps, always check on where the deep water is from that point.
Here's the gear he's using here. This is our fisheye view of the Carolina rig, and we like to show this.
And the guys are also using spinner baits and a lot of topwater baits as well, but a Carolina rig is, boy, it's a pretty dependable bait, and Terry is fishing with a finesse zoom worm, a small one, a red one, and he's probably fishing in 4, 5, 6 feet of water.
You can see how stealthy it is. It's weedless. It's just a great way to present a piece of plastic.
And again, I want to say that he's trying to throw it in a lot of these shell beds, and they're not visible. You have to throw out there, and you find them. You find them with that lead, with the lead on your Carolina rig, because the bottom would be rough and kind of, you know, there'll definitely be a different feel to it. And I think that's why Terry has done well so far in this event, and why he might continue to do well, because he knows where these little shell beds are at.
Terry Scroggins, by his own admission, has won 300-plus tournaments here on the St. Johns River. That's almost hard to believe. I don't know that many people who've fished that many days, you know, in the past 3 years. But he says he's done it.
I wonder what his wife thinks of him.
It's
fishing
maybe
that
news to her.
This week's Fish Eye View has been brought to you by Citgo. ESPN2's exclusive presentation of the Citgo Bassmasters Tour is brought to you by Kumo, by Lowrance, and by Bass Pro Shops.
I'm going to make about 3 more casts and I'm leaving, whether it's the right thing to do it or wrong. I can't sit here no longer.
Want to go out to that end?
Nope. I'm going to where some water will move. Maybe. I don't know if it is or not. But got a chance to win the tournament, so I'm going to go after it. I'm going to catch them a 0, one of the 2. You don't get in this position too many times.
We'll leave Chris Daves to contemplate what's going to happen next. Meanwhile, let's check in for some news with Jimmy Dykes on the Bass Times.
Well, 2 of Florida's most productive estuaries will be protected under a recent decision by Governor Jeb Bush. Over 140,000 acres of uplands and submerged habitat will be added to the Rookery Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve near Naples and the Apalachicola Estuarine Research Reserve in the panhandle of the state of Florida, about 300 miles west of where we are today on the St. Johns River. The Apalachicola Reserve has the highest species density of amphibians and reptiles in all of North America. Now, in the last couple of years, drought has had a substantial negative impact on the state of Florida's freshwater fisheries, prompting the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission to implement a $2 million stocking program on 20 of the hardest-hit lakes. Plans call for 16 million fish to be stocked, including bass, bluegill, red ear, and crappie. Now, one of the anglers we're following today is Chris Daves, whose father, Woo Daves, won the Bassmasters Classic in Chicago 2 years ago. This tournament also finds the legendary Roland Martin competing against his son, Scott Martin. There are actually quite a few father and sons who compete in the BASS tournament circuits. In the past 30 years, there have been 7 father-son duos who have qualified for the Bassmasters Classic during their careers. 3 of those duos have actually competed head-to-head, including Guido and Dion Hibden, who have not only faced each other 5 times in classic competition, but they have both won the coveted classic title. However, when Dion won it in 1997, he was not competing against his dad. I guess that's the best way to keep peace in that Hibden family.
Bass Times has been brought to you by Long John Silver's.
Back on the river, it's Danny White. I tell you what, so far this year we've had some good sequences of people fishing for schooling fish.
And we will
There he is.
probably have one right now. I mean, I was watching that spook work through the water and what these guys are doing. They're sitting on these spots just like we've seen everyone so far. They're throwing a Carolina rig. Boy, they got a Zara spook or some kind of a topwater bait real close at hand because of fish will just come up, and they don't seem to be coming up in big schools. They just maybe one or two fish will pop up there.
Oh, so those aren't schooling. Those are just individuals coming up, eating off the surface, or chasing something up to the surface.
Maybe 2 or 3. You know, not 25 and 30, but they're running them minnows, and those guys are really waiting for that and getting a lure in on them.
Well, for our fisheye view, let's take a look at this kind of topwater lure and maybe see why it works.
And we call it a walking lure, and you can see by our view right here why they call it a walking lure. And actually, you know, it's easy to work once you get onto it. After you've made your cast, you drop a little bit of slack line, and then pop that slack line out with your rod tip, and it makes it start walking. Well, here's a good look at where he's doing his walking right now, Tommy. You can see the channel going up through the middle of your screen, and then over on the flat. It's always over on the flat you find some graphs in the kind of cover these guys are looking for.
And see, that's one thing about a spot like this right here. This is not running the bank or anything like that. I mean, you see how much offshore we are here, and these type of fish they hold better, and they don't get beat up near as bad because everybody's running the banks. And these fish out here are just plentiful, and they're harder to locate. But once you locate them and stay with them, they can produce like these have. There he is. Come on, baby, stay on. Stay on, stay on, stay on. Be a keeper and stay on. Oh, yeah. Stay on now, stay on. Do me a favor and stay on. Oh, gracious me, baby. Oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
You had your rod laying out there and I'm scared to death.
Don't worry about it.
Get hung in it.
Now, you'll dig it out.
All right,
Man,
another
I'll
score
stick
for
him in
Danny
the
White there. 3 fish, now 5 pounds, 26.5 total.
That's 3. Or if we can get a couple more like that. I got him.
Okay.
No, thank you, but I insist. I'm going to put that fish in a live well. I think a lot of anglers feel that way, don't they?
Yeah, I'll take care of that myself, thank you.
Yes. Well, back to Terry Scroggins here, just wailing on him.
Boy, he
never
is catching
stops.
some fish today, and I don't think we've said enough. We talked about the shell beds and how important they are, and how important it is that Terry knows where they're at. But I think that tide is really important too. And we mentioned earlier that you're getting a little bit of tide and a little bit of current coming out of Rodman there. I don't think you'd get a tide. I think you'd just get a little bit of a current. Most of the tide is coming from the ocean, and boy, they are Terry here. And again, you know, talking about that home field advantage, Tommy, the tides are helping him because he knows them. And we talked about his milk run a little bit ago.
Yes.
You know, on his number 6 spot, the 6th stop, he knows what the tide will be like before he ever gets there. And when the tide is not good, he's going to stop 8. So home field advantage is really playing into his hand.
Come on, baby. Stay down, stay down. Stay down now, stay down. That's a decent fish right there. Boy, that's the one I need right there. Come on, baby. Take your time. He ain't even seen the boat yet. Okay. Oh, good shot, man.
Look at the hook.
Thank you. I know it. Look at it. Side of the mouth. They are barely getting it. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for letting him hang on.
Danny White here. He's going to have to do a lot to catch Scroggins. If he gets 2 more fish the size of that one Mark Pattinson caught, maybe he's in the game.
Man, it can happen so fast. Gary, my friend, things are looking up. One more, and I'll be one more puppy, and I'll be in good shape.
Danny White, you've got to admire his enthusiasm and optimism, and he is doing well. He just doesn't know how well Terry Scroggins is doing. Look at that, 37.5 pounds. His lead just keeps getting bigger.
There he is. There he is. Oh my gosh. Oh, baby. Good fish. Very good fish. Oh, darling. Come on now. Big time fish. Oh, man. Get your butt down, baby. I heard rattle trap when he come, too. Back off, y'all, if you don't mind, please. Here you go. Get down. Ah. All right, here we go. Ready? Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Lord, thank you.
Good job.
Baby, baby, baby. We're gonna need a few pliers. Oh, man, getting nervous now. Go ahead. Getting nervous now. That's 5. Thank you, Lord.
5 fish, a limit for Danny White, chipping away a tiny bit at Terry Scroggins' lead, but look at it. It is formidable. He's got one step closer to that pot of gold. Stay with us. We'll be back with more. The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail Eastern Open here in Florida on the St. Johns River. The odds-on favorite going into this thing was Terry Scroggins. A lot of local knowledge, and he has been running true to form, building up a huge lead.
Pattinson is still north of the takeoff spot, and he's been very patient, stayed in the same place all day long. Only 2 fish, but boy, one of them's a dandy.
A super fish. Wayne Black, a shaky start, then he caught a good one himself, but he's been losing ground ever since.
White still throwing that topwater bait. Has made a pretty good little move here and is full of confidence.
Chris Daves has had kind of an unsettled day today. Finally made that move he wanted to make and found someone in his spot. So basically, he wasted an hour of time. Now he's back where he started.
Had it, Doctor.
Net.
Net.
Yeah. Stay on, fish. Stay on. Stay on. Stay on. Stay on.
All right, buddy. Good job. Good job. All right. Thank you, Lord. Good job,
He ain't
brother.
very big, but I'll take him.
He's a good one.
Zoom finesse worm strikes.
Maybe sense a little relief in the voice of Chris Daves there. He's got the goose egg out of the way. He can settle down, get into a bit of a groove there.
And you know what? He's fishing and not looking around him, which,
that's
like you
got to
said,
be
is-
an advantage. Got to be a help.
And this guy, he is not looking around a whole lot either, boy.
No, he's in the zone. He's
coasting.
not seeing anything but fish coming to the boat.
And you know what? There is a case right there of him seeing one of those fish, doing something else, and then seeing a fish break. And I believe that was a front runner that he threw out on that bass that came up. And he's got it.
something, yeah.
And that's something.
Not too bad.
Hey, here's some more news for the Scroggins family. His young 10-year-old son, Jonathan, I think, won the won the division of his of the kids casting contest this week.
So Terry's got to win. He's got to hold up his end of the deal, or he's going to get kicked back at home. But the rest of the family.
And I also said earlier, I wonder what his wife felt about him fishing this much. Well, actually, she is a big supporter of them and very enthused. Of course, she needs to be enthused. He's got to bring home the bacon here today
man.
if everything keeps going this way.
He has given us a lesson today. And reading accounts of his practice, he said he was shaking off 100 fish a day.
Yeah, I read that.
I mean, and I can believe it now, watching him in action today. I mean, he just knows every little nook and cranny and how to fish it on this very familiar, at least to him, piece of water.
Boy, he knows those shell beds. And again, that is such an important part of it.
Back over now to Danny White for all his good efforts. He's still almost 6 pounds behind Terry Scroggins.
Yeah, got him. Oh, boy. I got him. Stay down, baby. Stay down. This one will call if we can get him. Knock them rods out of your way. Stay down, baby. Stay down. Stay down! Oh, boy. Stay down now. Come on. Stay down, baby. Don't be coming up. He's going to try to make a surge when he gets here, I know. right, here we go. Here we go. Oh, thank you, thank you. Baby, baby, baby. Thank you, thank you.
You're on a roll, buddy.
That's gonna call, baby. That's gonna call. That's gonna make a difference right there. Hand me them pliers right behind you. Thank you so much, man. Thank you, Lord. Oh, baby. Look at that little bait right behind us. Something's fixing to get up on it. Yes, there's about a 10-foot hole just right out in here. And I think these fish are actually, you know, coming and going out of that deeper hole, coming up here and chasing the bait up here where they can get them in this flat. And right on the drop. See, we're right on the drop right here. We're sitting in 4 foot of water, and it drops off right in there to 10, 6 to 10.
White doing what he's supposed to do. He just needs to catch some bigger fish if he has any prayer of catching Terry Scroggins. Back over to Wayne Black here.
And you know what? These guys, well, we just haven't seen many big fish. But most of the time when you're fishing in fish that are schooling, you don't catch that many big fish. But you catch good ones. You know, these guys are catching a lot of 3 and 4 pounders. That's not bad. And speaking of big fish, Tommy, you know, they reported that the Rodman Pool was the Dead Sea. You know, there was no fish left up there anymore. When actually, I think 2 of the top 3 big bass of the day fish came from Rodman Pool, a 10-pounder and a 7-pounder.
Oh, gosh, I'm starting to get a little nervous. Because I got a decent limit, and if I could catch another one of these in cold water, I could have a sure enough limit. But I think Scroggins is really, unless he just totally bums out, which I doubt that's going to happen. He knows his place like the back of his hand, and he just knows where every little nook and cranny is, and he can catch him.
Back over to our leader, Terry Scroggins, the auto body shop owner from right here in Palatka, Florida. You get the idea that he's got some local knowledge that counts today.
I'm tired of talking about Scroggins.
I tell you what, we just need to watch. The guy knows how to catch.
Hey, I will say this. They're fishing Carolina rigs a lot, and the rig that they're using is a little longer than normal. I think anywhere from 4 to 5 foot long. And they're using that real heavy weight. And you know what? The big secret is they're working it extremely slow. When they're throwing that Carolina rig, they're using a long leader and working it very slowly across the bottom.
Quick look at our scoreboard. Things haven't changed much. Terry Scroggins still running away with this thing. Basically 5 fish, 14 pounds, a grand total of 40.
At the last Citgo Bassmaster Tour event at Lake Tahoe, we found ourselves with an awesome top 10 in the Angler of the Year race. Davey Height has a substantial lead over all the contenders. His 2 victories and a 10th place finish at Tahoe gives him a 33-point advantage over the man sitting in 2nd place, Chuck Economou. Now, the point system, it allows each angler to drop their worst finish for the season, essentially counting only their top 5 finishes. Following next week's tour event at Lake Seminole, the worst finish for each angler is going to be tossed out. And as you can see, our current top 5 could be throwing out some finishes that other competitors would love to have on their score sheet. Now, that Angler of the Year title is a tough accomplishment that is sometimes underestimated. We talked to veteran pro Davey Height about what it takes to win it.
Guido Hibden taught me something really important. You know, I'd never realized, and he told me, he said, look back and you'll see it only takes about 8 or 9 pounds a day to win Angler of the Year every year if you can catch that. Well, that doesn't sound like very much, but if you go out and zero one day, well, the next day you got to catch 20 pounds. So, you know, you just got to put in perspective what you're trying to do, and, you know, going for the gusto every single tournament is just not what's good for Davey Height to do. If I can have some good, you know, if I can be around going into the last day, then I've had real good success winning tournaments. But you got to be there on the last day.
Man, now there's a guy that's learned well. You talk about a picture of consistency. Davey Height has been it. You don't have a 33-point lead in that Angler of the Year category by having some zeros on your scorecard. Davey Height, I know it's only the halfway point. We're at the timeout section. he's on his way to a victory.
He has gotten the job done all year long, but I tell you what, he's got an impressive lead, but not an insurmountable one.
I don't know.
I think Roland Martin, look at him in third place. This guy's never lacked for motivation. Now he's super motivated.
Stop. Davey Hyde is confident, and how can you go against a guy from Prosperity, South Carolina? Think about it.
Talk about a couple of front runners. Well, I'm gonna root for the guy in first place.
I'm going out on a limb with Roland. I don't care what you say.
I'm going to drop down to 8th place and take Mark Davis.
And that's where you'll finish.
And no, last year he was about in the same position, and I have checked on his last year finishes at the same time, a 2nd at Toho, 11th at Toledo Bend, and a 9th at Wheeler, so he can still do it. Davey Hyde does not have this thing wrapped up.
We'll see if he stays with that pick. We'll see if he stays with that pick. At any rate, the season is only halfway over. We've still got 3 more events to come, 2 in Alabama at Guntersville and Eufaula, where Roland Martin, incidentally, has a lot of good experience.
Mark Davis' favorite lake.
Hyde's the boss of bass.
Okay. And one that's maybe a question mark in my mind, that is Lake Seminole down in Georgia. But we'll find out all about that because that's the event that's coming your way next week right here on the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail.
I tell you, you fish these things and finally get in a situation where you have the opportunity to win one of these tournaments, knowing it's a major thing. If you could, a major accomplishment if you can win one. And you know, things have to go your way. You have to have the right partners, and you know, I could not ask for any better than Mr. Day over there. He has let me do whatever I needed to do, and he's netted my fish excellently. And I'm sure his day is going to come, and I hope I'm the one that gets to help him out.
Danny White has caught a lot of fish, obviously had a lot of fun on the water today. Maybe not as much fun as our leader, Terry Scroggins, has had. Man, it's turning into a runaway. You know, one thing that's kind of a paradox about the St. Johns River. Part of being a local favorite is having what's called the home field advantage. But it's not that often when one man leads a tournament every single day up to the final day of fishing. Angler Terry Scroggins has done just that. But does he have enough local knowledge to maintain his lead?
To win this tournament, it'll probably take about 12 pounds, but I'm gonna see what I can do about getting 15. But it's gonna be tough to do. It's getting tougher every day, but just have to see what happens.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is presented by Long John Silver's.
Welcome to another episode of the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail. This week we are in Florida on the legendary St. Johns River system, legendary for bass fishing. 300 anglers ready to go. Also ready to go, Jimmy Dykes, Jerry McInnes, and 300 people who've been working hard all week, really.
If there's 300, how come we're only going to see 5 today?
That's the unfortunate part. I wish we could see them all.
It is kind of a shame on the final day of both a tour event and an open. You normally see the guys who are in the top 5 places. As a matter of fact, a tour event is 4 days long. You only see the last day. An open, like we're going to visit today, is 3 days long. You only see the last day. And boy, these guys are out there busting it because they practice maybe 3 and 4 days before the event. Hey, you two guys would never hold up under the work that these guys put out.
I'm afraid you're right. Exactly right. 300 guys, Jimmy. 300 pros, actually, so that makes it different from our tour events.
I don't know about that because, first of all, I've been working...
Part of being a local favorite is having what's called the home field advantage. But it's not that often when one man leads a tournament every single day up to the final day of fishing. Angler Terry Scroggins has done just that. But does he have enough local knowledge to maintain his lead?
To win this tournament, it'll probably take about 12 pounds, but I'm gonna see what I can do about getting 15. But it's gonna be tough to do. It's getting tougher every day, but just have to see what happens.
The Citgo Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is presented by Long John Silver's.
Welcome to another episode of the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail. This week we are in Florida on the legendary St. Johns River system, legendary for bass fishing. 300 anglers ready to go. Also ready to go, Jimmy Dykes, Jerry McInnes, and 300 people who've been working hard all week, really.
If there's 300, how come we're only going to see 5 today?
That's the unfortunate part. I wish we could see them all.
It is kind of a shame on the final day of both a tour event and an open. You normally see the guys who are in the top 5 places. As a matter of fact, a tour event is 4 days long. You only see the last day. An open, like we're going to visit today, is 3 days long. You only see the last day. And boy, these guys are out there busting it because they practice maybe 3 and 4 days before the event. Hey, you two guys would never hold up under the work that these guys put out.
I'm afraid you're right. Exactly right. 300 guys, Jimmy. 300 pros, actually, so that makes it different from our tour events.
I don't know about that because, first of all, I've been working on my conditioning a little bit, running wind sprints, getting ready for this show.
He's ready.
The tour events now, the pro is always in front of that boat. He's in charge of his waters. He's in charge of how long he wants to fish there. No distractions, really, in the tour events for that professional angler. Different in the open division. 2 guys always battling it out, trying to decide what water we're going to fish, how long we're going to fish there. I'm not sure how they always work it out, whether it's a casting competition or they arm wrestle one another, but they do a terrific job of working together.
Absolutely. They come to an agreement of sorts. Anyway, this tournament was originally scheduled for the fall on the Hudson River up in New York and, of course, was canceled in the wake of the events of September 11th. So this is the first event of the year for these Eastern anglers, and they are ready to go with their first event. After 3 events, of course, 5 of them will be qualified for the Classic.
Well, this fishing setting is located just south of Jacksonville, Florida, and it's not just the river now. It will be the river.
At this point, Scott Rook, Todd Faircloth, and George Cochran, who won the Classic the last time it was held on Lay Lake. Tommy, if Cochran does make it back, he's got to have a lot of confidence after winning there a few years ago over my guy, Davey Height, who's just a pound behind him.
Your guy, Davey Height.
Yes,
Watch
sir,
rolling.
Reeves.
That's all I'm telling you.
Just one thing to add here.
Okay.
If Rick Clunn does not make the Classic, I will help you guys broadcast it with a banana stuck in my ear.
All right.
Green
okay, we
bring
got
green
it.
bananas.
It's on tape.
Bring green bananas to Birmingham.
We'll end it on that note. Thanks for being with us today. The Citgo Bassmaster Tour next week on Lake Seminole. Join us. That'll be a good one. Banana. Sweet.
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.